We have a guy who's a luminary, literally, in the industry, who is the team leader and the technical director for id, a co-founder of the studio. So you want to stay here for what I think literally are the next most important hours in gaming. So John Carmack, please come up on stage. Give him a big round of applause, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy QuakeCon.
So actually a number of people have told me that the last couple of years my keynote talks have been getting a lot more approachable, where I've been talking more about strategy and vision for products, and there's been less technobabble. And I guess part of that was I had been going through trying to take my position as president and chairman of the board of id Software a little bit more seriously as we were a growing company and we were doing more and more things. But now, after the ZeniMax acquisition, there are all those things that I really don't have to spend that much time on because I'm not an executive at heart. I'm an engineer. I don't like telling people what to do. I like doing them myself. And even more than that, I'm a techie. I love the technology part of things. I love working on that. While business and management really is, in the end, what makes the world go round and what makes the products that we all love to play, I'll leave that to the people that are better suited for it, and that means that I get to spend more time on the things that I'm actually personally good at. So this last year I've done more programming than I have in several years before, and it's been great. I'm really enjoying sort of the way things are going now, where we have the ZeniMax team really does have their act together on a lot of levels. I sent an email to Robert Altman complimenting him on his good executive kung fu when he got the Rage title back from EA for distribution by Bethesda. And there's a lot of things that we can see with them where they understand some things in the production and marketing and distribution side of things that that we really weren't privy to, and things that they're going to make better decisions than we would have made on our own. So we can look at this and say we've got the right team that's going to be taking care of these projects, so we can go and concentrate on what we want to do in the creation process. And again, the management of the process in the different products is incredibly important, very painful, and I really don't want much of anything to do with all of that. I've resisted being drawn in as actually the lead programmer on any of our major projects because really the lead programmer doesn't get to program all that incredibly much. I much prefer my my title as technical director, where I can explore these different technologies and kind of figure out where we're going further on and come in and do important, cool things on the existing projects, as well as shepherding the different systems through there. But it's not my job to make sure that 20 programmers are all doing exactly what they're supposed to. And I feel a lot for Robert Duffy and Brian Harris now down on the Doom team, where they go from enjoying coding, doing all this, and Brian still thinks that he's going to be programming a lot, but we're going to see how that works in another year or two as he kind of takes the reins on all different work that actually needs to be done in there. So, the technology is still, every year I'm probably more excited than before about all the fascinating things that we've got going. And I've never done this before at a QuakeCon, but by happenstance, last month I started working on a separate little project, one of my little side things, and it's actually at a point where I want to show something at QuakeCon. So this is the first ever where I'm going to actually demo something here that I hope it works. So, little iPhone, big, enormous TV screen. All right, well, I'll keep this on. All right, where's my AV cable here? Who took the VGA cable?
It's on the table.
Up here, okay. iPhone, Rage, 60 frames per second. Video up here in the center so I can drive. Okay, so I had actually thought, I had figured out most technically of how I wanted to do this a little over a year ago when we were talking about doing something on the Wii. But when I set out to go ahead, this went really fairly smoothly. And here we have really all of the mega texture goodness that we're used to in Rage. And in many ways, this is incredibly cool on an iPad, where the touch, moving it around and looking at it, I did some fairly clever things to approximate sub-pixel precision on the movement. And the visceral feel of just kind of dragging the thing around is very, very neat. And this is running on an iPhone 4, where I did wind up cranking up a few things to go ahead and run on the big screen here. But it runs great, actually, on an original 2G iPhone. In fact, compared to our other titles on here, this will be running at a similar or better frame rate to Doom Classic, significantly better than Doom Resurrection. And again, we've got all of our great stuff where we're lighting things with radiosity and bringing in all of this detail with the stamping and everything that we've got here. And this is just my technology demo. We're in the process of pulling this into a game framework. But this was one of my great points where I'm able to just kind of go in and do something, really leverage all of my skills, come in and just leave a lot of people going, huh? What? How? But then I get to turn it over to other people to go ahead and go through all the real hard work of actually turning it into a full-fledged game. But there's my little demo there, which I'm kind of proud of. And so you can imagine things like this going, as you look towards the industry in future years, the idea that, I just pulled out of my pocket the machine there that, I could kill anything done on a previous generation console, like an Xbox or a PS2 or something on the hardware that's there. It's not as powerful as the current generation, but it's not all that far off, where you're basically looking at something with vertex and fragment shaders, 512 megabytes of memory, pretty good storage on there. And you can imagine coming up and playing some things, plugging in, playing on the big screen or on the small screen on there. It still lacks tactile feedback and a bunch of different things there, but it's an interesting platform. And the iPhone titles have been doing well for us. We've done, we've moved quite a few units on there. And one of the great things about the iPhone platform is we're not in these 4-year-long development cycles there, so we get to do little experiments, and we're still sort of feeling out how we want to approach the markets. So an interesting thing here is that we've made the decision that this first Rage title that we're going to do, instead of being sort of a full-scale thing, try and sell it $9.99 or something, we're going to do it as a smaller, cheaper title that's going to go out a lot on just, oh my God, look at this. And we want this to be the type of thing that people show off why their phone is cooler than their friends' phones, because it can do this. So this will actually be the first Rage title available for purchase. It should be this year as we wind up with the first Rage title on the iPhone. And then we'll have another Rage title coinciding with the big product launches next year. So I'd actually like to, since we've got sort of a leading edge crowd here, I'd like to take some quick surveys with some show of hands. How many people here have an iOS device? iPod, iPhone, iPad? All right, good number. How many people have an Android device? A vocal minority. Okay. So to go a little bit further, how many people have spent at least $20 on the App Store? Okay, good chunk. Now, how many people have spent at least $20 on the Android App Store? 20 people. Okay. So I keep checking on these things about every 6 months. I kind of survey where I want to be going with the different technology platforms. And of course, it's great, all these things that we're involved in. I can make this cyclic road between, we're going through 360, PS3, Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, ATI, and iPhone, Android. And I keep checking on these things, and it's, I just did this again last month where it looks like we could develop, we could deploy some of these products on there. We now have reasonable hardware acceleration, multi-touch. We have the store kind of functioning on there, although not being able to download larger than 8 megabyte apps or something would be an issue for this. Rage is going to be hundreds of megs. That was actually one of the other enablers for doing this product, was seeing that people were willing to download Mist and mapping applications and incredible size things on there, because that's kind of freed me up to go ahead and consider some of these technologies that will take incredible amounts of memory. So I am still spot surveying the Android market on here, deciding when we're going to go ahead and bring some of the products over. But it's probably not going to be on this cycle. I check again in 6 months. We'll see if what I want to see is, does somebody wind up going out and making a bunch of money on there? But it does look somewhat painful for the benefit that people are getting out of it right now. But there's some clear trajectories there on, you expect to see Android on just about everything. And I'm really quite happy with these sort of duopoly markets. I love Microsoft and Sony, Intel and AMD, NVIDIA and ATI, and I'll be completely happy if we wind up with, an Apple and Android sort of marketplace on there in the mobile space. But again, just like I said there, like all of those things are things that I try to keep my head around and kind of keep my hands in on what I'm working on there. And it's really impossible. It's impossible to stay on top of all of these broad technology areas and be able to still kind of make important contributions there. In many cases, I do feel almost overwhelmed sometimes as I make my full trawling route around reading all the new white papers and new SDKs for all of these different things. But it is what keeps it all exciting. There's just so much stuff going on, and there's so many companies doing great work. And figuring out where we can fit in this larger ecosystem. What is id Software or larger in ZeniMax? How do we fit in with all of these places? Obviously, first and foremost, we're a AAA game company where we are a cross-platform console and PC developer that's doing big budget, big selling, hopefully, games that sort of define the top 10 marketplace on there. And that's a dicey place to be in a lot of ways. We're confident in our abilities, but it is a hit-driven industry. And especially before the acquisition, we were looking at how we diversify ourselves more to provide a little bit of insurance about things like that. And the mobile market's been a lot of fun. It hasn't, it's nowhere near close to being something that can take over in terms of revenue share or anything from the large products. But it's one of those things that's growing at a very, very rapid rate. And I think that there's entertaining products to be done there. And I really enjoy being able to sort of step between the different worlds here, where I allocate about 10% of my time to mobile development over the course of a year, where I can say, all right, I've got maybe 6 weeks that I can really spend on this. So I spent 2 full weeks last month working on this, and I'm doing the odd day or so here and there mixed in with my other work on this. And then I'll wind up spending, focus some number of weeks on 360 specific stuff, I'm probably just about due for running into weeks specifically focusing on PC OpenGL issues as we go through all these different things. And you continuously learn different things that hopefully you can apply in different areas, where one of the things that I always have to wrestle with myself on is the benefits of specialization versus synthesis, where on the one hand, it's great to be able to have this global overview where you can see something that's done one way and you realize, oh, in this completely different platform that is exactly the right thing to do, to have this kind of broad base on there. And, experience and history are useful on those. Like some of the stuff when I was doing Doom Classic on the iPhone, I was realizing that, okay, this is not concentrating on Rage at the time. This is something else, but I'm probably the best person in the entire world to be doing this project because I wrote the code 15 years ago or whatever originally. I had just come off of another application on the iPhone, so I was up to speed on that. And then, I very deeply know how to work with that sort of fixed function hardware on there. But there's so many things that would be great to work on, and I just don't have the time. And it comes back to that sort of management aspect of things where I really wanted to do more iPhone projects, but I don't have the time to do it. And we sort of stole some of the people in our mobile team and rolled them into the big project teams. So our mobile staffing went down for a while as we merged things in and reshuffled things. I get offers all the time from people. It's like, look, I've ported Quake or Quake 2 or Quake 3, and can we just use this? But I just don't even have the time or inclination really to manage that whole process. So I'm not sure when we're going to get to all the rest of these different things, but